In this video on short-term business decision making, we're going to be specifically looking at an example of product mix and emphasizing one product over another. But before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that our lecture notes are available on my website at theaccountingdoctor.com, and I hope that you'll visit my website, check out other videos that I have, as well as ebooks, and I have a textbook store as well as my blog there. Okay, so let's get started on our example. Here we have Vivace. They sell both designer and moderately priced fashion accessories. So we have more than one product, so we have a product mix. Top management is deciding which product line to emphasize. Accountants have provided the following data. So we have our sales price, our variable expenses, our contribution margin, our fixed expenses, which are allocated based on some estimated rate that we've calculated in the past, and average operating income for both product types we have. The Vivace store in Reno, Nevada has 10,000 square feet of floor space. Automatically, we know now we have a constrained resource. If Vivace emphasized moderately priced goods, it can display 650 items in the store. If Vivace emphasized designer wear, it can only display 300 designer items. These numbers are also the average monthly sales in units. So no matter which one we emphasize, we are going to sell those. That's what that last line means to us. So let's restate something we should already know at this point. We need to emphasize the product with the highest contribution margin per unit of the constrained resource. So we now know that our constrained resource is square feet. Square feet of storage or floor space. It may be storage space, it may be shelf space. Whatever the case may be, you need to emphasize the product that has the highest contribution margin per unit of whatever the constrained resource is. So let's set up an analysis here. So if you're following along with the notes that you can get from my website, here we have the designer and the moderately priced. We know that we can display 300 designer per 10,000 square feet, which is 0.03 units per square foot. We can display 650 moderately priced units in 10,000 square feet, or 0.065 units per square foot. If you multiply those percentages by the contribution margin of each one per unit, you get a contribution margin per square foot or per constrained resource for the designer of $3 and for the moderately priced of almost $4, $3.96.5. We could really stop here because we already know which item we should emphasize. The one with the highest contribution margin per constrained resource. We know it's the moderately priced, but if we go forward with this analysis and multiply it times the square feet, we find that the total amount of designer that we can emphasize will bring in $30,000. If we emphasized all moderately priced products, then that would bring in $39,650 with our entire capacity. Another way you could do this example is to say, well, I know I can display 300 designer and I can display 650 moderately priced. I know my contribution margin per unit for designer is $100 and $61 for moderately priced. If I multiply that through, the total contribution margin for designer is $30,000. The total contribution margin for moderately priced, $39,650. Again, we could really stop right there, that three-line process. But if you then divide that by the capacity, which is 10,000 square feet, you then can get that contribution margin per square foot for designer of $3 and for moderately priced of $3.96.5.